last time when we were in Bangkok. We've lost her. Or... Okay, we'll come back to Lucy. Maybe she lost the connection or something. Hi, Anne. How are you? Can't hear you, Anne.
Got it. I'm well. How are you? Sarah, I can't hear you.
We're all having problems. I said Lucy was here a couple of moments ago, who joined the Zoom discussion when we were in Thailand. I think she must have lost her connection or something. So we'll return to her when she comes back, because she's not familiar with the Pali terms.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I think we can start and see if she returns. Do you have anything you'd like to start with, Anne?
I don't actually, Sarah.
Or Tom?
I'll leave it to someone else.
Okay,
Nothing
I can see
mine right now. Thank you.
Right. I think Lucy is just reconnecting. Hi, Lucy, back again.
I'm so sorry. I accidentally clicked on leave meeting and it just went pear-shaped.
Yeah, it happens.
It
Don't
happens.
worry.
Yeah. Anyway, I was just suggesting maybe you just give a brief summary of your impression from the discussions before and what you found difficult or different. And
well, it's all very new. So you're right to say that I'm unfamiliar with the Pali terms, but I really appreciated that you gave me kind of not layman's language, but a language that I could more easily absorb. I found it very intimate, and I really was very grateful for the direct I guess teaching with Sujin, where she was sort of asking some direct questions. I found it to be a very open and very non-judgmental session, because I was a bit afraid I might ask some silly questions, and I was a little bit nervous that I might sort of appear to be very ignorant. But yeah, I really like the focus on the here and now, and just the discussion just very much around the kind of the just what that actually means, and deepening our understanding of that. Yeah, it was it's very different for me. It feels almost foreign. So I'm definitely in new territory. Not totally unfamiliar, but it's definitely new territory for me. So I appreciate your patience with me learning here. Thank you.
Lucy, it's always really good to have new people coming into
Anne.
Bringing different perspectives. Isn't right? It brings out different things.
Thank you.
And it's very helpful for everyone. So please feel very welcome and very included.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I think you might have met Anne too when you joined the Zoom discussion before, because she was with us in Bangkok at the time.
He's very familiar. You've a very familiar face.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I was there and I certainly remember. It was great. It's great. It always is when new people come.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was a little bit apprehensive, but I'm sure I'll become more comfortable over time. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. I think so too.
Yeah. Thank you.
You say it was very, very different, and we've also had one or two discussions here together. Is there anything in particular that you find useful or beneficial when discussing more about these different realities in daily life?
I think I was able to grasp, I was able to understand that as a concept. I think probably just help with the breakdown of the Pali terms, which is so unfamiliar to me. And I have to admit, I haven't done any homework at all on the Pali terms. So I recognise that I need to do more reading for that side of things. No, I think I'm just really happy listening. I think I'll get a lot out of listening and hearing other people's questions. And if I don't understand something, I'll be the first to raise my hand, I promise. Thank you.
One of the first things we discussed is distinguishing between what are ultimate realities and what are concepts or ideas, because you said, oh, I think I understand the concept or the ideas. So for example, the seeing now, the seeing which sees what is visible, is a reality that actually can be proven to be true and can be known. But when we think that there is a computer that is seen or a screen of people that is seen, this is an idea that is thought about. So we're learning to distinguish between what is real and what is an idea. We think there is I that sees someone, a person, Lucy, Anne, that sees. But we learn that this is just the object of thinking, an idea, that there is a Lucy or an Anne that sees. So by learning more about what are the absolute realities, such as seeing, such as visible object or color that is seen, we gradually begin to distinguish between what is true, what is real, what can be known, and what is just an idea that's thought about. We know when we're sleeping at night and wake up that all the dreams were just ideas and illusions and fantasies, but actually even now during the day, most of the time there is thinking about different ideas, different fantasies. So we live in the world of ideas and concepts and dreams. And the Buddha's teachings, as we understand it, is really to begin to understand what is real at this moment. So this is the reason we talk a lot about what is here and now in truth, not what we imagine to be here and now.
So would it be right to say then that we are almost living in a dreamlike state?
Yes, most of the time. There's a moment of seeing, a moment of hearing, and then thinking about different ideas about the waste site I visited, or the yoga class I've been to, or the swim in the ocean. But these are just different ideas and dreams that we are usually lost in without any understanding that the thinking is real, but the dump site, the yoga class, the ocean are just ideas thought about.
Yes, but well, I think when you say dreamlike state, of course, the ordinary idea of a dreamlike state means there are no sense impressions, nothing being experienced through the sense doors. It's all through the mind door, right? But the life as it is now involves, of course, because what is experienced by the eye consciousness and ear consciousness are real, are realities, and those consciousnesses themselves are real too. But the thinking that follows the experiencing of those realities is like the dreaming, because it's just by that time a concept. By the time the thinking that processes the sense door experiences occurs, it's thinking about concepts, the past reality, the concept of the past reality. So that, in that sense, it's similar to being in a dream state. That's the mental processing. Yes.
Which is where we get lost.
Exactly. That's just where all the mental factors come into play that we refer the like feeling, like what we refer to as the emotions, the liking and the disliking, the wanting, the forgetting, the whatever. Yeah, that's all through the mind door.
Sorry, so is this okay if I ask a question?
Of course.
Okay, so to understand that just a little bit further, so the driving to the dump site, the waste site this morning, was the action, and putting the paint in the correct bin, thinking about putting the paint in the correct bin, was the action. But whether or not I thought that was a good idea or a bad idea is the dreamlike state. Not the actual activity of driving there and putting the paint in the bin.
Well, that also has to involve thinking about what is being seen and heard as one goes along. Because there's moments of, don't forget what we are trying to understand, or the way it's explained by the Buddha. Seeing experiences just visible data, just as hearing experiences just sound. So now you are hearing words spoken by someone that you can identify, but the moment of actual hearing is the moment of experiencing the sound without knowing anything about the sound, without being able to recognize the words or the identity of the speaker. That is all the mental processing that follows upon the moments of hearing.
Then how do we live with intention in a world that is faced with so much, crisis around, our environment? There has to be this level of sort of analysis in order to do the right thing, like putting the paint tin in the correct bin.
Well, that's all habitual thinking. Habitual, if you want to call it analysis, it's habitual analysis. We don't have to make it happen. It happens automatically by past conditions, memory, and so forth. But what we're interested in is understanding the reality of the present moment. We're not actually interested in sorting out the whole process of this, then that, then the other, but just of understanding the reality of what is appearing at the present moment and not mistaking one thing for another. So that's why we are careful to identify what is hearing, so what is the experiencing of just sound, and what is the thinking about what has been experienced, and putting it together.
Okay, thank you.
We think I have an intention to go to the site and I select what to do with the paint, but we begin to learn that actually there is intention at each moment. At this moment of thinking, there is intention. So intention is arising and falling away all the time. And the intention that arises now whilst thinking about going left or thinking about going right arises by conditions, by habit. So the illusion that there is an I that makes a decision or has an intention is part of the dream, part of the fantasy, because where is the I to have the intention? What is the I? Actually, there are just those realities which experience an object like seeing and hearing and thinking, an intention arising and falling away, and those realities that don't experience anything like the visible object, the sound, the taste, the odor arising and falling away. So just these different mental and physical phenomena arising and falling away, which we call I or my body or someone there or something there.
Okay.
But there has to be a lot of considering, because the clinging to the idea of I is so very deep-rooted. Anne or Rosita or Bev or anyone else, would you like to add anything else that would be helpful for Lucy?
Lucy, at the very beginning, you said something about, you talked about concepts and things being concepts. And that, in fact, that's so very, very true. We live in a world of concepts because there is so much ignorance about what is real. But even, for instance, if we talk about seeing, which is a reality, we read that, we have we don't actually know the reality of seeing until there is a sufficient understanding that's been developed that will know it directly. So until then, we know it. It is not an idea; it is a reality. But our understanding of it is through the concept, a concept of seeing. It is not a concept, but when it is known directly, one will know that it is seeing and that it is a reality. I don't know, Lucy, whether that helps or it makes it more confusing.
That does. I think it does. I think yeah, absolutely it does. I think my mind, yeah, I understand that. Thank you. That's good. Helpful.
Well, it's something that we talk about again and again and again.
That's good.
We never stop having a conversation because people can think or that they understand a reality, but until they understand it directly, they don't know it yet as a reality. And as I say, that takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, a lot of understanding. It's not going to happen quickly.
Not today.
Right.
Thank you.
Jan, would you like to add any comments? We can't hear you, Jan. M, is there any problem with Jan's sound?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now, Jan. Please carry on.
I didn't hear anything.
We can hear you, Ajahn. Can you hear me? Please carry on.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, did you hear the previous conversation?
Not at all.
Oh, I see. Right. Thank you, Ajahn. We'll perhaps put a particular question for you, for your comments.
I'll just summarize a little, Jan. So we were talking about understanding the difference between the realities now and the ideas, the dreams, the fantasies that are thought about most of the time during the day, and also about the two kinds of realities, those that experience an object and those that don't, and how even the idea of I that experiences is part of the fantasy. And we were also pointing out that even when we talk about a reality like seeing, it's not understood, it's just the idea, but there has to be the considering and discussing and understanding about different realities again and again in order to understand what is the truth now, different from the idea or illusion of what is the truth. And Lucy gave an example of going to waste site and having an intention to put the paint in a certain container, for example. And we discussed about how even the intention arises by conditions. It's not my intention to turn left or right as we're used to thinking. So Lucy said at the beginning, this is all quite new for her and quite different from her usual way of thinking, but she's interested to hear more. Do you have any comments you would like to add?
Yes. Everyone understands what is heard, right? About Lucy going there, intentions with this. They are all real, but now it's time to train to be careful considering of what is heard, to understand the absolute truth, not just the story. In a day, we just talk about different happenings all the time, our intention and this and that. They are real because they are there by conditions from moment to moment. But is there any understanding of the ultimate truth of what is there, heard and thought about and understood at some happenings all there? That's why in the teachings, just begin to train to understand more about what is there as it is. Because even its interest or intention or life or dislike, everyone knows. But what did Buddha realize the truth? More than that. That's why even now, what appears in life is so very common. But the absolute truth, the ultimate truth of each moment is not known. Without hearing about it and consider to understand it, but in truth, it's just there, only when it's there, and then gone. Consider it. Is it true right now? Hearing, and then sound, and then no more, and then thinking, and on and on. What is there is conditions, not at anyone's will at all. It has to arise by conditions. When the conditions are ready for whatever arises, it arises. No one can stop. The moment it is already conditioned at all, that's why learn to understand each one. Whether can it be anything or anyone, as we used to think about it from birth. That's why listen to the truth of what is there a little more to begin to understand how much ignorance of not understanding the truth of what is there as it is. Just anything, anytime, one by one, even right now, it's there by conditions. No one there. Is it right? Oh, I see. Training to think carefully about the truth of seeing and that which you see, and the idea of moments of thinking about after seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting all day. It can be learned just to understand the truth, to understand that in truth, it is just there by conditions and then gone instantly, never to arise again. The next one is not the last one at all. And the future one hasn't come yet, so it's not now. But as soon as this moment is gone, what is conditioned to continue or to follow is there already. To understand that life, in truth, there are different realities conditioned to arise and fall away from birth, just born to die. But before dying, before death comes, there must be a condition to hear, to think about different situations, on and on and on, non-stop by conditions, just like from birth up to now and on. No understanding, or why there is birth and why there is death. Whatever arises falsely, instantly, is not known. That's why we know just the moment of birth and someone is born and died and so on. But what is there at moment of birth and each moment before death? It's there now by conditions. So what are there can be known to understand the truth that actually the understanding of taking it for something is not right at all. It's wrong because it's not there anymore. So how can there be a person or a thing or someone or situations? Just learn to understand what is there. That's why from birth, everyone knows about seeing, I see, this, laugh, and so on all day. But what is the ultimate truth of each one as it is, as no one at all? That's why born to die, no one can stop the moment of death at all when time comes. But it's not so frightening at all. It's just like now, moment of seeing and moment of hearing, no one knows. Even there are many chitta, many moments in between, but it's not known. What is known is that which appears through the sense and the mind. Is that right? Is there me or anyone or anything? And what is the absolute truth or the ultimate truth of this moment? To be truthful to the truth. Otherwise, the truth cannot be known or realized at all. What is that so real? So it can be a moment of understanding the nature of it, no matter is that which is seen or that which sees and then gone. Moment of hearing comes, hearing, sound, gone, and everything in life just gone to die. But before death, it has to experience what is there from moment to moment by conditions and all gone. Is it true? And there can be a little more understanding until it can realize the truth because it's so real. Is it the best thing in life? Not try to change, not try to do anything at all, because all are there by conditions from moment to moment. So there can be any moment to study, to learn to understand it as now, as it is. As understand the path leading to understand the truth without hearing and considering can there be very wise and very sharp understanding of that which arises and falls away. That's why I have confidence of the truth. It's there by conditions, it's not appearing, so it can be known gradually when there is moment of hearing about it, wise considering about whether it's true, and as it's so true, it can be known. That's why Buddha said, understand a little more of that which is real, which is so proper to understand, because it's there, right there, to be known, right now. So we learn about what is there now, little by little, to let go the very, very subtle clinging to no matter what is there, liking or disliking or not. What are they? So when we talk about going somewhere, doing something, thinking of this and that, what are they? At moment when it's there, from moment to moment in life, is that true? So it just understand that life goes on by conditions, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, before hearing the truth about it, no thought about it as it is at all. But after hearing, it's time to have moments of understanding what is there, because it can be understood while hearing about it, little by little, to let go of ignorance. Otherwise, one do not understand why does it have to be birth, and why does it have to be this, and why it has to be seeing, hearing, smelling, thinking, different bad situation, words and on and so on, all by conditions. And what is the ultimate truth at the very moment when it's there? Nothing at all. Only that which is conditioned to see, to think, to like, to dislike, and then on. Each moment is the truth. Just learn to understand the absolute truth or the ultimate truth of what is there. It is so true because it's now appearing. But before hearing about it, no understanding about the truth of anything from birth to death at all. Is that true? So it's just time to understand the truth little by little. Maybe it's true or not.
Do you have any comments, Lucy?
Wow. I do. Thank you so much, Yijun. That for me was very profound, and the understanding of the absolute truth is that's one part of it, but the understanding of what's taking place by first doing the hearing and the seeing and the smelling, for example, needs to be there in order to make a decision. Would that be right? But then, coming back to what is the truth? Is it true? Does it exist? Well, it only exists because of conditioning, because of concept, because of our thinking mind, because of our past experiences, because of all of these conditions. That's the only reason it exists. I guess what I'm trying to say there is just get a little bit of clarity around the, again, going back to the waste disposal site, there's a lot of hearing, there's a lot of activity going on, which is only arising because of past conditions or, our previous experiences, past, like our karma or whatever it is. But I have to do the seeing and make decisions in order to carry out an intention. But then I can, after I do that, I can then unpack all of that and then, understand that it's only happening because of the conditioning. I'm not really making much sense. I'm just trying to sort of,
yes, I think,
understand the daily life aspect of carrying out the action and the intention, but then bringing one's mind back to what is the absolute truth. Is this something that's a constant practice of moving in and out of? Are we actually moving in and out of like our everyday thinking, that sort of relative sort of, thinking to or the absolute? Are we moving in and out of this as we live our daily lives? That was very convoluted.
I'll just say a brief word before John adds some further comments, Lucy. So thinking about an event that happened in the past, like going to the waste disposal, has perhaps is not really the approach we are looking for, because what's gone cannot be directly known. First point. Only what is appearing at the present moment can be directly experienced and understood as to its true nature. Secondly, we're not so much trying to unpack a process as just to understand a little bit of something about the present moment, the reality of the present moment. So we don't have to try and work it all out.
Okay.
Third point, in this respect, whatever the situation in conventional terms, whether it's driving to the waste disposal centre, the recycling centre, or whether it's sitting before a screen and having a discussion with someone else, as we are doing, the situation doesn't change the realities that will be appearing at the present moment. Because the seeing, for example, is the same by its nature, although the object is going to be different, although the reaction to what has been seen will be different, and the hearing and the sound are the same, but of course the words are different, the noises are different, and we interpret them differently, but the actual reality of those things is by nature the same regardless of the situation. So what the Buddha taught is the understanding of what is appearing now. And the reason this is important is because our whole conception, our understanding of life depends on our interpretation of things, our understanding of the nature of things. So it's a teaching that's not about thinking one's way to a better understanding, but to coming to understand more directly what is there right now to be experienced and understood. So we can cut through, if you like, the situation completely and just consider what is real at the present moment. And that's what we inclined to talk about here. Thanks.
Thank you.
I think it was obvious that you were listening very carefully, Lucy, and picked up many of the important points. And when you said that it's very profound, what you heard was very profound, this is right. It's very deep, very subtle. And even when we're just using simple words, not easy to understand. And as soon as we have the idea of bringing our mind back to this moment or having a constant practice of some kind, behind it is the idea of I doing something, like I bringing the mind back. But what we're learning again and again is that there are just these different realities, these different mental and physical phenomena arising and falling away by conditions. And however much we would like I to be in control and to do something and to have a particular effect or result, it's not possible, because in truth there is no I to control or do anything. So the understanding has to just develop very naturally in daily life, but not by I doing something to make it arise. So this is the subtle point. And the core of the teachings is that we imagine an I to be in control and in charge of life. But actually, the attachment now arises by its conditions, not by I making it arise. Moments of kindness now arise by conditions, not because I have made them arise. The seeing now, what is seen now, who knows what will be seen at the next moment? It's not in anyone's control, but it's by conditions. What will appear, what will be seen, what will be thought about from moment to moment.
So, what would you like to know, or what would you like to do now?
Is that a question for me?
I think it's a question for you, Lucy. Yes.
And anything that comes to mind, it doesn't matter what you say, Lucy. It's not a correct answer.
I'm just I've got a lot to process, so I'm kind of I'm slowly like digesting all of this, and I'm understanding. I just I keep using the word I. Lots of I. I think I just need to be sitting here listening more and more. I have a lot of listening to do. Thank you.
Well, that's a very acute observation to make, because we've all had the experience that you're just relating, and we all appreciate the value of listening, which is why we're here and happy to attend the discussions.
Thank you.
In fact, it's one of the conditions for understanding to grow, the listening, and then the considering it in a way that's in accordance with the Dhamma. So there is a lot of listening to be done, and learning from the listening before one can before the understanding will grow sufficiently for it even to be possible to think about directly understanding the realities. So it is, the first natural stage of, I don't really like the word stage. It's the first part of the development of understanding, and the considering, and the considering is the thinking about it and the questioning it in your own mind, and questioning it, asking questions in the group or to Ajahn. It's really a wonderful experience, opportunity. But as Jonathan says, we're all familiar with what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes, Lucy made a comment to me that it's a little bit intimidating too. And it is, because beginning to appreciate how much is ignorance that there is, and how little understanding there is of life. And then we're asked questions and put on the spot, and there hasn't been the considering to know exactly how to answer. So it's not easy at all. Very difficult.
Having said
Everyone
that,
appreciates this.
Lucy, you're doing a fine job.
Lucy, listening to you, I'm really appreciating your openness and your humility, because the Dhamma is difficult to understand. It's not easy, even at what we call the theoretical level, to get the theory correct. There's a saying that you need a lot of knowledge to realize how ignorant you are, and I think that really relates to the Dhamma. It really relates to the Dhamma. And it does require, as others have been indicating, a lot of listening and a lot of humility to realize that this is new territory. I may not know much about it, but I'm interested to learn. And this is what I'm picking up from you. They were speaking recently about a quality, I'll use a Pali word called suacho, which means someone who's easy to speak to, amenable to the Dhamma, is able to, there's a truck going by here, is able to consider what the other is saying and have an openness to that. And I think they're all essential prerequisites to appreciate the Dhamma. If we let our own perhaps limited understanding of what we perceive the Buddha Dhamma to be all about, then it can make things more difficult. And I don't hear that from you. And I think that's such a valuable quality to have.
Thank you. Oh, what's happened to my thing? Thank you for that. Yeah, I feel like I don't even know what questions to ask. Like, what's what's an appropriate question? And I certainly don't want to offend anybody here in the group, or be a frustration to anybody in that you've been in the fold for such a long time, and then you've got this new person who's come in shrouded by mental conditioning, finding it, I feel like I'm wading through trickle. My mind is kind of moving through this treacle right now. So I appreciate that. Who was speaking then? Was that
my name's Sundara.
Sorry, I couldn't see your image there. Mine's disappeared all of a sudden. Sorry. Thank you for that, Sundara. That was that was lovely. But you're spot on.
And never, my encouragement would be that whatever you say, we can all benefit from. We're very fortunate with our teacher Tana Jin, and perhaps I like a question here because she has to me a touch of brilliance in these areas, that and insight and appreciation of the Dhamma, which I think is exceptionally rare these days. So perhaps I would like to ask you, Tana Jankap, for a beginner or someone initially unsure about the Dhamma or what the Buddha Dhamma is, what would you be saying to that person, Lucy or otherwise?
I say that if anyone does the value of understanding this moment as it is, or any moment in life, no one can do anything at all, because it depends on just the individual's accumulation to understand what is the best, the most precious of life, to understand what is there, because it's there from moment to moment, unknown. No understanding of any time of seeing. We just talk about the story after that. But no matter what we're talking about, there are different moments of that which is so real, arising and falling away all the time. But there's not enough interest to understand the truth of each. Just want to understand the situation, the result, and what will be done and what shall we do, and so on. No understanding at all. What is there at birth up to now? Is it still that which arises and falls away until death? What are they? Even right now, when there's no attention to understand the truth of seeing, how can there be the understanding of anything in life? Because at moment of seeing, gone, a moment of hearing, a moment of thinking, all gone, without any understanding of the truth of each moment as it is. So it depends on whether one is interested to understand, just to understand. Because when we talk about anything like seeing, because now there is seeing, what is seeing is not in one's mind. To understand it, what is it? Because life exists in a moment of seeing, hearing, thinking, liking, disliking, on and on, non-stop. So ignorance is there for each moment, no understanding of the truth in life, from life to life. So when there is a moment of understanding that there is the enlightened one, so listen to the truth. It doesn't hurt at all to listen, to consider whether it's true or not. That's all in life, better than just live and die. It may be this moment, because who knows, the moment of death and the moment of birth, no gap, just like seeing and hearing. But seeing and hearing, there must be the many moments in between unknown. But the moment of death and birth is close, not Atacitta, or other moment follow it after death. It has to be birth instantly. So it's so natural, just like now, but no understanding at all. Each life, while there can be moment of listening to understand what is there now. Any moment, it can be a moment of thinking, it can be a moment of feeling, whatever is there, so real when it's there and then gone. And this is life, short or long, who knows? It doesn't show any sign for death at all and birth after death at all. But it's the conditions created to condition next life as what are the conditions this life? By conditions only. And just on and on. See, just born to see, to hear, and then that. Each life, no understanding. But when there's time to hear about the truth, someone has realized the truth, enlightened the truth. Is it very precious or interesting to be known? What are the truth of this moment? Without hearing, can it be anyone understanding of what is there? But while listening to the truth, the right understanding begins to develop what is true and what is not true. To begin to understand what is there in life.
Thank you. Thank you.
Zita, do you have any topic you'd like to bring up today? Maybe just if you use any Pali terms, please translate anyone for the sake of newcomers.
Okay, I do have a question, and I don't know the English terminology for it. It's Upanishya Gochara. I was listening to a recording from a few years ago, and they were talking about the three Gocharas. I think Gochara translates as either object or resort or domain. So, so firstly, I'll just ask, what is Upanishya Gochara, please?
So I'll just translate briefly, first of all. So as
Thank
you say,
you.
the Gochara is, in this context, it's the object taught by the Buddha, that is the object of understanding, not the common object. So it has to be the reality, the truth at this moment. And Upanishya is what is habitual, like what is decisive, as we have in Upanishya Pachya, the decisive support condition. Here it is the habitual object of understanding. So we talk a lot about seeing now, or what is seen, the visible object. And the point of discussing and considering again and again about these realities is so that they become the habitual object of understanding, even now, just at a thinking or considering level. If there's no familiarity with what is seen now or what is heard now, the reality of sound, not the truck in the street or the car, but the actual sound, then they cannot become the habitual object of understanding. And without the development of the understanding of that object, the habitual understanding of these different realities which we discuss and consider so much, the understanding cannot develop to be a protection, to be a support against the clinging to the idea of I that sees and experiences and something that is seen and heard. So the understanding has to develop on and on until it becomes direct understanding, not just wise considering about visible object that's seen or sound that's heard, but the direct understanding of that reality by way of its sign. So it's talking about degrees of understanding, beginning with considering again and again the different realities that make up life now, which can be known to become habitual. Now it's our habit to think about what we're eating and where we're going and what we're doing, but there has to be the development of the habit of considering and understanding what life really is at this moment, so that that understanding can develop on and on. And the reason it is profound and subtle is because no one can do this. No one can make understanding arise or develop, but we can tell that by considering again and again, it becomes more familiar, not like a foreign language, as Lucy suggested it is in the beginning. It's like a whole different language, but it becomes more daily, more familiar, and this is how the understanding develops. Perhaps Ajahn would like to add more to your question.
There can be the understanding from the very beginning. Can you hear me? Something wrong with my phone?
No, it's fine now, Ajahn. Carry on. It's fine.
There is a bit of an echo, Ajahn, but we can hear you.
Yeah, it's very clear, Ajahn. I can hear you well.
Okay. There can be a little more understanding of the truth because it's so very subtle and very profound. The reality which arises and experience that which is experienced. In Pali term, it is aramana. Whenever there is a moment of experiencing, there must be the object which is experienced, and the object which is experienced has a special term, aramana. So now, whenever there is the reality which arises, the experience is citta, it experiences aramana. That is the word for any kind of aramana. That's why the aramana is conditioned too, because citta arises to experience. But what is the object of experiencing? Depending on many conditions too. When there's no hearing about the truth, about the word of the Buddha at all, there are aramana in general all the time. But we use different words to develop more and more intention or attending to the object as just what is it, or is what is the truth of it. It is kojra for those who heard the teachings of the Buddha. Before that, there is no such object at all. No hearing about the word, the term, about life, about seeing, and on and on. But the word of teachings about the truth taught by the Buddha, we use the word kojra. So Buddha's object is understanding what is there. Well, that when there's no understanding, it's general aramana. But when there is hearing again and again, and it becomes more familiar to understand what is there right now, that is the culture of the Buddha and those who listen to the teachings to understand that it's that which is to be known or directly aware or realized until it becomes the uppanasya patya strong enough to condition moment of araka, protect from akusala. Because now, at moment of seeing, there is ignorance and attachment, akusala, depending on condition of each one's accumulation, what will be there as a seeing. But the one who listens to the teachings of the Buddha understand that at moment of someone talk badly, and it cannot condition anger at all. It is that which understand the truth. The object right then can be known, and that at that moment it is araka upanishya, araka koja, and after that, on and on and on, on and on and on. There are times to just have more and more moment of understanding what is there in life, naturally, gradually, so very common. So all depends on the development of understanding what is there, which has to be developed gradually, little by little. So we understand now what is the Buddha's culture, what he experiences more than any object, the truth of what is there.
So Achan, that the difference between aramana and gochara,
Yes.
The aramana is what is the object of what is seen, for example. But gochara is also an object of what is seen, but is it seen more clearly for what it is?
A kind of sense. Oh, so please, Kelly. I was just going to say, these are sort of synonymous terms, really, for the same thing. Gochara, literally, it means where the cow goes, but obviously that's not what it means in this context. It relates to the territory, the object, whereas Tanajan has said it's the aramana. So there are often, as we know, there are many words that have kind of synonymous meanings, and we have to gradually tease them out. Yeah, sorry, Tanajan, please continue.
I'd just like to add something briefly that may help Azita. This term gochara, meaning resort, it appears in the context of the expression conduct and resort. So what I understand is in those days, there was discussion about what was a person's proper conduct and resort. Conduct meaning behavior, resort meaning place of visiting or being or people associated with. So in the case of monks, proper conduct and resort. So conduct obviously refers to sila, and resort is where they should spend their time, who they should associate with. However, the Buddha gives a twist, if you like, an interpretation to this term resort, and just as he does with conduct. So conduct in the Buddha's sense, proper conduct means kusala citta, wholesome mental state. It doesn't matter what the bodily action is or the speech is. It's a question of having wholesome mental state, and that, of course, conditions proper conduct. Any conduct that is accompanied by wholesome mental state is proper conduct. And with resort, then the proper resort for a bhikkhu is the understanding of conditioned realities. So that's where the mind should dwell, if you like, should go to, should be concerned with. And that's why, as I understand it, we have the term gochara or resort being explained in terms of realities that can be the object of understanding.
And so when we talk about upanishya gochara, the object that is understood at this moment, the Buddha's gochara, it means the object the Buddha showed us as being the truth at this moment. It is not synonymous with aramana, because aramana refers to any object of experience. computer,
be it
telephone,
concept.
table,
Oh, okay.
including concept, any object at all is
Right.
aramana. Aramana is the object of experience of any citta at all in life. But the gotra, the Upanishya gotra, is just the reality that is understood, that is habitual to be known, is known at this moment in life.
And so the 4 kinds of gotra are then different levels of understanding of conditioned realities.
You can say 4.
Three, sorry. 3.
Yeah, 3. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. And so Upanishya, we've got Upanishya, that natural decisive support condition. So that Upanishya is the developing understanding of the right object.
It's the habitual, it's referring to the object, which is the habitual object of understanding.
Okay.
When we're talking about these 3 kinds of gotra, it is referring to understanding. So Upanishya gotra is the object that is habitually understood, like sound now, or visible object, from considering, reflecting, beginning to understand again and again, so that it becomes Araka gotra, and then Upanibandha, the object of direct understanding.
Okay, that's
Not just any aramana at all, only the reality that can be known now.
That's kind of cleared it up, because it's taken in here, it's taken the object as the important thing. The gotra, its focus is on the object, really. Okay. Yeah, that's cleared that one for me.
It is the object sound, but it may or may not be understood. So by implication,
Right, yeah.
it is the object of that is understood, not
Right.
the object, which is the object of ignorance, as usual.
Right. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Is Kotra the same word, the same reality as Aramana?
Well, it's just been explained to me, Achan, that they're still objects, but the gochara is the object experienced by a developing understanding, not just a ramana, which is experienced by gusala or agusala.
And that is one point. But in general, Kotra and Aramana, in truth, the nature of it is the same. It is that which is experienced, Aramana, right?
Yes, Achan.
So in the beginning, Kotra is Aramana for sure. But why do we use 2 different words? Kotra is that which is often more than other objects that is experienced. That's why in some places say visual object is kotra of seeing. Is that right? Seeing does not have other object at all. It has only that as its object. So it is a kotra of or for seeing alone. Is that right?
Yes, that was why I was wondering about it in the first place. It's still an object of seeing, but it's
seeing doesn't have other object. It's always there. That's why object is very frequent most of the time for other citta, but for citta kunyana or seeing itself, it experiences only that aramana. So that aramana is the object as kotra for it. It doesn't go other place or experience other object. That's why we have to understand the subtlety, the profound, or the level of each word, which just pointed to the truth of each moment. And that is a general understanding. Aramana and Kojara is the same, but when we use the word Kojara, it's more often, more frequent than other objects. And now, why there is the Upanisya Kojara? Because without the object of that which is understood little by little, can there be the natural decisive support to condition it to arise again and again. Even if it's not very often, it begins to develop. That's why the meaning of it is not just ordinary Kojara for seeing, hearing, or for anyone to have the experience, the object of eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and thought as usual. It begins to have another object with sati. It's the same object, but the understanding is there to understand the truth of that which hasn't been understood before. That's why when we talk about the seeing, hearing, smelling, or whatever, it's the object of understanding taught by the Buddha himself, to know that it's different from when it sees and doesn't have any understanding, and the understanding of that which now sees begin to be object of understanding by the Buddha and by his teachings. For the other to have such aramana, to be object more frequent or little more, depending on conditions, just develop considering the truth of what is there around in all aspects, to agree with, to confirm what Buddha said in different places in Tipitaka. When he talks about the Kojara of seeing, it means that seeing does not experience other objects. It experiences only that which is seen, that which impinges on the eye base only. But when it's the object of understanding, that object is Kojara, which should be more and more until it becomes to be the Upanisya, strong enough to condition moment of understanding the seeing, understanding the object which is seen, not as before, not as no understanding of it before at all. The same object, it's there, but we use the term Kojara to mean that it's not just ordinary for everyone, but for the understanding, realizing, taught by the Buddha, realized by his enlightenment. Just one Kojara at a time, see? So now, is there any idea or other idea or doubt about what is meant by Upanisya Kojara? And now, the understanding of that which is seen to be studied, to realize the truth, it is the Upanisya Kojara developed and rooted a little more to grow up, to bear the result later. Without the Upanisya Kojara, no understanding of the reality which is appearing at all.
So that's wonderful. That's like opened up another little door with a bit more light on Buddha's teachings. So thank you. I very much appreciate that.
That's why the same word, but there can be a little more understanding by a little more training to be careful considering in all aspects. So we can talk, when we talk about this, we know what is meant by Kojara of seeing or Kojara of Buddha's teachings, of the reality, which is there, can be known as it is. the more hearing, it is the Upanishad to understand a little more. Until it's Araka. See? Until it's Upanipanda.
So, Sarah, can't hear you.
When Ajahn mentioned it has to be enrooted to bring the results later, it means that this development of understanding becomes firmer and firmer. To bring by way of results is meant deeper understanding later. Without the firm understanding of the gochara, of this object of understanding, there cannot be the deeper understanding, the Araka gochara, and then the Upanipanda. There cannot be the direct understanding later. So this is the effect of the development of the Upanishad gochara.
So the Araka is a more developed understanding, but it's also classed as a protection. So is that because there's more understanding arising that protects from akusala?
And when the understanding becomes firmer and firmer, it protects more and more from akusala, and in particular from the wrong idea of self. There's more confidence, less idea of doing something or trying to develop or trying to have kusala, less idea of I that is experiencing. So it's a protection from the wrong understanding, in particular, the wrong understanding of self, and gradually protection from other kinds of akusala as well.
Mm. Mm.
I was just thinking of Lucy listening to this and may feel a little bit perhaps overwhelmed, the Pali words there, that when we talk about araka, Lucy, the Pali verb there is rakati, which means to protect. When we say araka, it's like an intensifying or stronger version of protection. So it leads to greater protection from akusala and more appreciation of the Dhamma. We can put it like that. But, you know, as you're kind of realizing, there are so many different levels of appreciation of the Dhamma that the more we listen carefully and consider, I wouldn't in the beginning be worried too much about some of these meanings, but they can be helpful to appreciate more and more because they lead to better understanding. But my encouragement would be not to let yourself be overwhelmed by them, which I have a sense you're not doing anyway.
Thanks, Sundara.
And akusala, which he just mentioned, is unwholesome states. So greed, ignorance, aversion, the opposite of kusala, which is wholesome states. Usually we think of I doing something to have more goodness in life and to have less harmful thoughts and behavior, but we begin to appreciate that it's actually only through understanding that gradually there is a little less unwholesomeness, especially wrong understanding in life. So whatever we talk about, it comes back to the understanding that there are just different realities arising by conditions, not I that can do anything.
Thank you, Sarah.
Earlier, Ajahn, we were talking about Upanishad Gochara, and in connection with that, I believe it was Ajahn who mentioned, although it may have been Sarah, Upanishad Pachaya. Can someone talk about the relationship between those two? I know Upanishad Pachaya we translate as natural decisive support. And is that with regard to the object?
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering if there's not perhaps a little bit of confusion here. The word upanisia, which means just nisya by itself means a support or even a reason. Upa in front of that prefix, upa in front of it, means stronger, or it leads up to, or sometimes translated as decisive or very important support. When we're talking about, I'm trying to remember the word used before there. I'm just losing it for a minute there. When you talked about upanisia, what was, sorry, again, Ian, what was that word you used? What was the other aspect of this that you used?
Upanisia and Upanisia Pataya.
Upanisia Pachya, did you say?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, well, okay, that's one of the conditions, one of the 24 conditions, Upanisia
Yes.
Pachya.
That's
one of
right.
the, yeah. Okay, which is different in some respects to what we're talking about, but it is connected.
Well, that's what I'm looking for. The
in both
connection.
the Upanisia is exactly the same. It's referring to the habitual tendency. So the condition, the habitual tendency, the attachment now conditions more attachment. It becomes more and more habitual. So it's a condition for attachment to arise again and again. And in this context of Upanisia Gochara, it is the object that becomes the habitual object of understanding. And this is also by Upanisia Pachya. That is how the wise considering the understanding of sound, for example, becomes the common tendency, the habitual tendency again and again. It becomes the Upanisia Gochara, the reality taught by the Buddha by that condition, Upanisia Pachya.
That's what I was, thank you. I knew the habitual. Anyway, yes, that helps. Thank you very much. They are interrelated and yet different. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking, and it's kind of now looking at the object. It's got more emphasis on the object, but this is coming from my intellectual understanding. So, but it's opened up what was a bit vague for me before. So I thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you for raising it.
Just back to Lucy before we finish. Lucy, any question or anything you would like to ask? Anything that's a concern or of special interest?
Lots of interests. No, just could you point me, please, in the direction of studying some of the more fundamental Pali terms? What would be a digestible text or something for beginner mind to perhaps help ground some of this discussion?
Right.
I mean, I've read your book, but that's about it.
I'm going to bring you, I've got a couple of other books that I'm going to bring when I see you next, which I think will be helpful. These are a couple of books by Nina, who I mentioned. And so I'll bring them to give you. And also, you're very welcome to join us on the discussion group I mentioned. So that might also be helpful.
Yes, there's also a handy glossary that you could print out and have ready, and make it easy to find words that are mentioned during a discussion and get a quick definition.
And I've been putting up the words that are being used in the chat here, but I don't know if you've seen it. But if you just click on chat, then you'll see them. So I should have mentioned I was putting them there.
Yes.
Can you see now? Yes.
I can, yes. Thank you very much. Some of which I jotted down a couple of
Right,
weeks.
okay.
It's some new terms. Thank you.
You might
I've
like to
often
just jot them down.
just useful posts in DSG. I've found them just absolutely minefield of information. It's wonderful. So I'm going to go there and see what more I can read up on these.
And also with regard to your question, Azita, I've written a couple of Zoom topics on these three kinds of Gotra. So I'll give you the links on DSG afterwards as well.
Yes.
Lucy, Azita's referring to a section of the Dhamma study group. So I'll give you that link again as well. And Jan, is there anything you would like to add before we finish?
Just briefly, Lucy, with regard to access to Pali, that online there are dictionaries. Some of them are pretty straightforward. I mean, possibly the difficulty is learning the Pali alphabet, but there is a lot of resources, as the others have indicated, here and there via the Dhamma study group. But there are also dictionaries, Pali to English, and even English to Pali dictionaries that are available online that I have found really helpful. Okay. And if you're, so there are a lot of resources about in it. However, there is a lot sometimes to digest and to go to, but there is a lot of resources around, and that's what everyone is indicating to you, I believe.
Thank you, Sundara.
You're welcome to post a message to the list with the details of those online resources if you care to. Thanks.
So, Achan, do you have anything more to say before we finish, please?
So now we know that without understanding, there cannot be any understanding what is explained or taught by the teachings of the Buddha, right? Even the word Kojara, without understanding, there can be doubt why this is Kojara and it is Upanishya Kojara. Because now, without understanding, there also be the Upanishya, Pattaya, see. So Nisaya is the what is there as support, because one is so used to it at moment of such thinking, one used to think that way and so on. So even not as the Upanishya Kojara, Upanishya is the moment of habit, taking as usual all the time, but it's different from a moment of hearing the teaching. And without understanding about it, there can be doubt about why that is also Kojara of Chakuvinyana and so on, and why Aramana and why on and on. But when there's understanding, there can be understanding of what is said or explained anywhere in the Tipitaka. Otherwise, it's just thinking about it or taking it different, but how different it is, it has to be wise considering or careful considering. And now hearing the teachings, the training to be careful about what is there as it is, to understand that the teachings of the Buddha is the absolute truth. Nobody can change whatever is there as it is and then gone. That's why learn to understand truth and read the Pitaka. And when there is understanding, there can be the understanding of the meaning of what is there explained or written or taught by the Buddha, because it's so very profound. If there's no fundamental understanding or the intellectual understanding at all, it cannot understand the path, because the path is understanding. So now, this moment, it is Upanishya Pattaya, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Upanishya Kojara.
Achan.
At moment of understanding, akusala cannot arise. So there can be the understanding of the relation between this moment and the parami and the development of understanding until it's there. Another level, directly understand with awareness of what is there. And right understanding understand exactly, directly what is there as it is. Different level of understanding. But in the beginning, it's so very little, not much, and very little of understanding until it develops years and years ago. The test is this moment. Is there any direct understanding or seeing? It's there. It's not self. It's conditioned. It experiences only one quadra, the visible object, but does it appear as it is? Not yet, until a little more understanding of what is there, letting go, clinging gradually, secretly, subtly, and that is the path. No other path at all. Because understanding has to understand the truth of what is there now. Otherwise, there cannot be any understanding of anything at all. Is that right? Just consider it. At this moment, so rare, it's not understood. So how can there be any understanding of what will come when there's no understanding at all of this moment? So right understanding is so very truthful. It knows how much understanding. None, yet a little, secretly, slightly, unknown at all, like holding the knife's handle. See, that's why now it's the path leading stage by stage to realize the truth, which is there as it is. Patient parami, Khanti parami, Satya parami, until it is Nibbana, Kojara, Upanibanda Kojara. Never forget, it's there by conditions, naturally, a little more, but so rare when we use the term a little more again, so rare too. That's why no doubt about how many years each one who heard the teaching developed parami to let go ignorance in daily life now, to condition understanding a little bit of that which appears gradually, little by little. Is that true?
Yes, yes.
Parami, Ariya Satya, the path, then there is understanding, little by little. So it's time now. Sawadee ka.